Caution: this game contains scenes of violence and gore, as well as depictions of criminal acts. These acts are strictly punished by law. Please do not attempt to imitate them. This game also contains themes of sexual violence and self harm. This game is a work of fiction. Any relationship to real persons, groups, places, or crimes is coincidental. Shut in. I'm not. Taking some offense at Misumi-kun's choice of words, I almost snapped back at him, but I quickly decided against it when I considered the possibility that he might get upset at me. So I just bit my lip and turned away, and when I did, I noticed that there was something written on the blackboard. At first, I didn't really care enough to read what was written there. My mind only registered the fact that something was written there, and not what it was. But the longer I gazed at it, the more I realized something was wrong. Before I knew it, I was out of my chair. Move for a second. What was that for? I pushed Misumi-kun aside and rushed over to the blackboard. The instant I realized what it said, I felt my heart sink to my ass. Whose eyes are those eyes? Those were the words I said to myself whenever I felt God's gaze. I'd never said them out loud before. I hadn't told anyone about them either. Not even Misumi. I didn't matter how often I used it. There was no way anyone in this class would know about that phrase. So who? Why? How? I quickly turned around and scanned the room. The only person paying any attention to me was Misumi. The rest were talking to their friends, reading manga despite manga being against the rules, or sleeping on their desks. Then who? Who had written it? And when? It's just a coincidence. I'm making it up. It's all in my head. The Nugent killer is somewhere inside this school. Whoever wrote this is trying to provoke me. I should definitely erase it. Come on, what's the matter? Misumi-kun walked up to me, grabbed my shoulder, and gave me a good shake. Are you even listening? Hello, Taku. Ugh. It must have just been a common phrase or something. In other words, it was just a stupid, pointless scribble. I tried to tell myself that, but I still couldn't calm down. So in the end, I just went up and erased it, moving so quickly that nobody would notice. Shibuya Station was a much different place early in the morning than it was later in the day. Young people were scarce, and countless businessmen following a jarring ride on the crowded trains rushed out of the station and scattered every which way into Shibuya. It was a place marked by indolence, yet engulfed by an air of restlessness. The students of Suimei Academy carried that with them as well. However, the number of them present was rather sparse. Shibuya Station was about 20 minutes away from Suimei by foot, and on top of that, part of the route was most Suimei students taking the train would depart at the stop nearest to the academy, Shinsen Station. Kusunoki Yua, meanwhile, took the unnecessary task of walking from Shibuya Station. Waking up early for this did not cause any headaches for her. The heart of Shibuya was often suffocatingly crowded, but as long as one began to climb up Dogenzaka, the number of pedestrians dropped sharply. Taking the extra time to walk and breathe in the refreshing morning air was something Yua quite enjoyed. Part of the reason why she chose to walk from Shibuya Station was to see the news display on the jumbotrons above Scramble Crossing. As she waited for the pedestrian signal to change, Yua peered up at O-Front's jumbotron, just as she always did. Upon doing so, she gasped in shock. The captions running across the screen before her had taken her breath away. The headline read, "Third New-Gen Incident." A certain boy's face rocketed to the forefront of her mind. A boy whom she did not know, nor had ever spoken with. But it was a face that she had seen the previous morning at school. Though for Yua, that evidence was enough to convince her that he was the true culprit behind New-Gen. Oh. So, when did she... When? What? I mean, what? The second one was man-child. Was When could she possibly have seen him and just been like, yeah, this nigga the murderer? I always thought it was just she walked into his room of porn, like, and saw the steak and was just pissed, but apparently not. Yua could recall the events of the previous morning vividly. 7 a.m., Suime Private Academy. Yua marched quickly through the empty halls. It seemed that no others had arrived yet. Her expression rigid, she gazed straight ahead without faltering, without a hint of restraint in her stride. Yua advanced onward, stopping only once. She arrived at a certain classroom. The sign which framed the room number read 2C. Following a quick gaze, she confirmed her destination. Yua slid the door open without hesitation. 2C was not her homeroom. As a third year, she should have no reason to even set foot in here. Absolutely no reason at all. That was how it would be under normal circumstances, at least. But right then, she had a specific goal in mind. After methodically scanning the empty classroom, Yua approached the blackboard. She perused the selection of chalk colors for a brief moment before picking up a pristine white piece. That's how? Then, using intentionally poor handwriting, she wrote a single sentence on the blackboard. Whose eyes are those eyes? She whispered the words to herself after writing them. Gently placing the chalk back down, she surveyed the room once more. Doesn't he also erase it during the normal time, during the original route? I wonder how you're going to react. Her whispers continued, for nobody to hear but herself. Maybe you won't be fazed, or maybe it'll surprise you, and then maybe you'll try to erase it in a hurry. If you do that... In the silence of the empty classroom, her intimidating voice echoed. I'll have evidence that you're the killer. I'll be hiding, watching your each and every move. You don't know my face, but I know yours. I know it. I've seen your face. I've seen it, and I'll be watching. I do wonder, though. What will be going through your head when you see the blackboard? I suppose I'll just have to see. Right, Nishido Takumi-kun? Yua forcefully bit her lip. After she had finished her task, Yua made her way up to the roof to kill time until the students of 2C finally arrived. Then, 10 minutes before the bell rang, Yua returned to the hallway. Peering in through the door, she kept an eye out for anyone who might react to her inscription of... And just as she had predicted, a certain panicked schoolboy was the one to erase the words. One look at his face and she could tell exactly who it was. Nishijo Takumi. I'm sure of it now. I know it's you. It has to be you. It can only be you. This is what happens when your amygdala isn't fully, fucking whatever. She muttered those words out to herself, only for them to be drowned out by a speaker mimicking the sound of pigeons cooing. The pedestrian signal at the Scramble crossing had changed colors. The massive wave of pedestrians collectively ceased their standstill and began moving once more. However, Yua remained where she was, paying no heed to the possibility that she may be in the way of those trying to cross. She simply stood in place, focusing all her attention on the subtitles that appeared up on the Jumbotron. Kusunoki Yua was born with a twin sister. However, she had died 1 month ago. It had been ruled a suicide. The two were like a pair of couple necklaces, incomplete without the other. Their bond was simply not comparable to that of ordinary sisters. The shock of her death left Yua feeling as if she were the only half the person she once was. That's how much she adored her twin sister. When she heard the news, an endless waterfall of tears sprang forth from her eyes. She collapsed onto her sister's bed, desperately searching for the girl who had been living there only until yesterday. Why did she have to die? Yua searched for any answer at all, but found none. It wasn't really suicide. She would never kill herself. Somebody must have murdered her. These thoughts only fueled the flame of her grief. Maybe, Yua thought, maybe she left behind a message that nobody's found yet. Tormented by feelings of guilt, she began rummaging through her sister's possessions. When she did, she found a single diary, and within it were the words, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" This was a clear cry for help from her sister. Even so, Yua had no idea what the phrase meant. With nothing to lose, she decided to search for it online. Among the results, she discovered a single essay. One that had been entered into the National Elementary School Writing Contest. I'm sorry, is that essay named Armpits? It was a competition that had been held 6 years ago by the Ministry of Education, and the title of one of the winning essays was "Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes?" The author's name was written beside the essay title. While the kanji could be read in multiple ways, the correct reading was clarified. Nishijo Takumi, a fifth grade elementary schooler at the time. However, that was where the trail went cold. She had no idea what connection Nishijo Takumi had with her sister's death. Then came an incredible coincidence. It was rather common for Yua to pass by Shoto Park on her way to school. And in that park, about unemana twice a week, she would spot a lonesome schoolboy eating bread. She observed him in his time of solitude. She somehow grew fond of seeing him. On her way to school one day, Yua happened to run into a friend of hers at the station. The two of them decided to walk together, eventually coming across the boy on the bench. Upon seeing him, her classmate spoke up. "That guy over there is a second year named Nishijo. He's in my brother's class. I hear that he's one of those shut-in otaku freaks. You should really stay away from him, Kusunoki." Dude, are you sure they didn't know Yua was a gigalomaniac? Because this shit is lining up way too perfectly. The characters in his name would normally be read as Saijo. For it to be read as Nishijo was an anomaly. There was no way it was a mere coincidence. As soon as she could, Yua got her hands on the list of second-year Suimei students. And there it was. That name. Nishijo Takumi. Still, the shared name would not stand on its own as decisive evidence. It too could be merely coincidental. So Yua decided to put her theory to the test. "Whose eyes are those eyes?" She wrote those words on the blackboard and watched as he trembled in fear. That was not the end of it either. Leaked eyewitness reports from the crucifixion incident claimed a Suimei Academy student was spotted fleeing from the scene and exploded across the internet. Yua had all the evidence she needed. Nishijo Takumi was a suspect, and he very well could have been the one who had murdered her sister. Initiated by Momose, a meeting was slated to be held at Frisia Credit Bureau, a meeting to which Bond was now running nearly half an hour late. It was supposed to branch, but like nothing happened. Banchan. Banchan, you're getting awfully late. I'm not getting any younger, you know. Momose's angry voice hurled him into as he entered the office. In response to this, Bond gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frisia's president with an amiable smile on his face. He had not brought any refreshments today, something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment. "Mamai, where's Suichan?" "He's off working on another project for the day." "You sure do enjoy youngsters working to the bone." "Hey, I'm working too hard too, Missy. I was up all night last night doing all kinds of research. Thanks to that, I've learned a thing or two about the culture surrounding high school girls these days." I'm at a loss for words. Something you Something you're talented at causing.
で、
Can't talk.
こうして俺を
Well,
助
anyway,
けた
since
ん
you
だ。
called me over here, does that mean you got in
俺
touch
の
with the
ところに
kid?
ってこと？
I touch kids?
今来てるわ。
Yeah, she's here right now, in
さ
fact.
すがもう。
Nice work, Momo-chan. Oh, and while under the top... Nigga, come on, you're going out sad. Momose promptly smacked Bon over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed at which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce. That's enough stupidity out of your mouth for one day, you old lech.
冗談。
I was just kidding. Before arriving at the building, Mon made a private request to Momose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the Nugent cases. Rather than anything work-related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was... oh, fuck. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the Nugent investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Bond cannot simply meet with the person on his own, else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. Momose urged Bond over to a corner of the office. It was fairly cramped, almost all of which was taken up by shelves packed full of files. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and the pair of love seats had been wedged into the place they could fit. Bond entered the section after Momose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. The girl was wearing a Suime uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved to the ground, and she looked incredibly haggard.
ごめんね。お待たせしちゃって。
Sorry to make you wait, dear. The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Momose. In the process, her glasses... My glasses! I can't see without my glasses! Oh, not at all. I don't mind. When she saw Bond, her expression turned slightly fearful, before bowing her head in greeting a moment later. Bond felt somewhat hurt by this. He had made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible in both bearing and appearance, but the girl's reaction made him realize that, despite his best effort, the ferocity and intimidation particular to detectives was seeping out. Yeah, nigga, whatever. Looks like I've still got it with the freshmen.
楠木
Kunaki Yua-san, right?
はい。
Yes.
亡くなったミヤさん
The older sister of the late Mia-san. I got that one right too. Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. The first Nugent incident, the group dive, among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusunoki Miya.
まあそんな
Well, there's no need to be
君
nervous.
を取り調べような
Don't think of it as me interrogating you. Just think of this as like we're having a nice old chat.
本題に入る前に
But before we get to the topic at hand, mind if I ask you something?
ユアちゃんは妹さん
Yua-chan, what's your opinion on your sister's passing?
ちょっとバンちゃん。
Banchan, what on earth are you?
あ
I've read this before, but whatever. Whoops, sorry about that. Comes with the territory.
気を使うような
I sometimes forget to be considerate when I'm talking to people.
ただ
But still, I am curious. I overheard people at HQ talking about it. They said that the late Kusunoki Miya's family was quite
ミヤさんの遺族は
strange.
奇妙だって
ばあちゃん。
Banchan!
いえ、いいんです。
No, it's okay. Before Momose could rise to her feet over Bond's insensitive comment, Yua stopped
私
her.
もおかしい
I
って
also
思い
believe
ます
something is wrong with them.
ああ
集団ダイブで
The
飛び降りた
5
者には
that jumped off the roof in the group dive had no reason to commit suicide. Their friends and family all insisted that.
そう主張しているだが
But Mia's
ミヤさん
family
の
was
家
different.
族だけは違った
Bond took his fan out of his belt and began cooling himself.
何も主張し
I've been told that they were the only ones who weren't adamantly against the idea, that they accepted it just like that. In fact, they said so little it was almost bizarre. It's like there's so much wrong with Yua's circumstance. It's surprising that nobody knew, that Nozomi and everybody else in that group didn't know that she was a gigalomaniac, because the way that they act around, the way that Yua's family acts and how easily she got um how easily she was used against Takumi is just so insane to me. I guess what happened is that Suwa and Hazuki saw that one of the girls who died was a twin and just decided to, and also went to Suime and just decided to run with that to fuck with him instead. Kind of the same way that like random people on the street say bongle, bondade, bong bong, bondit to fuck with Bond. The two of them probably just like went in a roundabout way good enough to uh have. That's probably why Suwa also shows up to see if Yua is actually checking Nishijo out. But I could just be speaking out my ass.
なんでだよ。
Why do you think that is?
お父さんもお母さんも
After Mia-chan died, both mom and dad snapped.
おかしくなっちゃったんです。
Anguish seeped from Yua's
最
voice.
初は
On the day we heard about Mia-chan, they cried and cried.
それでも泣いていたんです。お父さんもお母さんも
Mom and dad seemed
とても
absolutely
辛そうでし
heartbroken.
た。でも
And
次の
yet,
朝
the very next morning, for some
み
reason I
んな
can't
楽し
understand,
そうに
they
笑
were
っていたんです。
smiling happily.
みやち
It
ゃん
was
と
as if
その
they'd
夜
gone back right to how they
全
were
く同じ
before
に
she
戻って
died.
たんです。たった一日で
It only took a single day.
私、わけ
I
が
was
わ
at
か
a
んなくて
complete loss.
二人は
I
みやちゃん
thought
の
that
ことを
maybe
忘
they
れよ
were
うと
trying
して
to
いる
forget
のか
about
と思っ
Mia-chan.
て。そうしたら、
But
お父さん
then,
が
with this big smile on his face, Dad said something to me.
お前に妹
He
なんて
said,
いないよって。
You don't have a younger sister.
みやちゃんが残した
Even when I showed them her clothes, her shoes, anything Mia-chan left behind, they completely disregarded it.
それはお前のため
They
に
just said,
予備
those
を
are a
取って
few
おいたものだ
extras we bought for you in case. Like Suwa and Hazuki had to fuck with her family. See, because, like, Mia didn't go to Suime, so she was friends with people who also didn't go to Suime. So upon finding out that one of the girls they killed, or one of the girls they were planning on killing, since she was going insane a few days before, well, she probably wasn't going insane. She was probably being portered. But upon finding that out, they were probably like, uh-oh, maybe we should just use her to fuck with Nishijo. Mia was like wrote in her diary, whose eyes are those? Whose eyes are those? Whose eyes are those? A shitload. So they probably had been scoping these kids out and noticed that Mia scoping out these kids and noticed Mia had a sister who went to Suime. And they were like, well, Takumi goes to Suime. Let's use Mia to fuck with him. And then her friends got caught in the collateral. Or maybe they were just planning on killing her friends anyways because they just are killing random people. Like the only two people I can tell who were killed due to their what's it called? The only other person who was killed due to their closeness, their proximity to Nishijo, was Takashina after he visited the hospital. So that means that either they knew about Mia and Yua, or, which is more likely since she was writing Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes in her diary, or it was a coincidence and they just found it out and her writing Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes was just her being portered, and it didn't work on, but it would have worked on Yua even though she's a Gigomaniac since it worked on Nanami. Because it works on you if you haven't unlocked your D-Sword yet.
そうやってお父さんたち
They ignored both the news and everything the police
警
said.
察の話からも目を背けて記憶からみや
It
ちゃん
was
の
like
こと
they
を
were trying to
消されて
completely
しまう
erase Mia-chan from their memories.
つまり双子じゃなかった
What you mean to say is they were trying to make themselves think that they'd never had twins.
それで警察
And that's why they told the police they only had one kid before turning them away.
私とみやちゃんは
Mia-chan and I were identical twins, so our appearances were directly alike.
あの子は
My parents, they didn't really like my sister.
親から嫌われていましたあの子はいつも自分
And
の
yet,
気持ち
she
を
always
絞り
kept her feelings a secret.
私のことを
And she always
一番
put me
に考え
before
てくれていたん
herself.
です
I know Yua has crazy survivor's guilt, because we've already seen it, but I know she has even crazier survivor's guilt knowing that Mia spent her whole life putting her first. As Yua spoke, memories from when Mia had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. First came a memory from when the two had still been in elementary school. On some day, some relatives had bought the girls a large teddy bear as a present. In contrast to the raw joy Yua displayed, Mia insisted that she did not like stuffed animals and proceeded to not even so much as look at the plush's way. Both her relatives and her parents were upset with Mia for not acting as a child should. But despite Mia's protesting, Yua whispered to her that the two of them could share it, that it would be something they could both treasure. However, in response to her sister's kindness, Mia simply said she did not want it and that Yua could have it. About a month later, when Yua had grown tired of the teddy bear, she woke up in the middle of the night to witness a certain scene. With an incredibly joyful look on her face, Mia was hugging and talking to the bear plushie. That was the first time Yua had ever seen her sister that happy. And so, from this, she realized her sister's insistence on disliking stuffed animals had been a lie. Mia had been keeping her own feelings hidden, all for the sake of her slightly older sister. The next day, Yua found a lovely drawing of a bear beneath her pillow. Until her sister had grown tired of the teddy bear, Mia had been hugging and sleeping with the drawing in lieu of it. Things very similar to this happened again and again over all the 18 years they spent together. For their birthday celebrations, Yua always blew out the candles on the cake. But when Mia was prompted to do it, she would say, "I refuse to do something so ridiculous," angering her parents. Yua advanced to the private high school Suime Academy. Mia, however, had been misbehaving at school, deliberately scoring low on exams, and therefore moved on to a public high school. Due to the exorbitant fees, their parents would only have been able to afford to send them to the school. No matter how hard Yua tried to let her sister have something, Mia would always gain the upper hand and force Yua to be prioritized. To achieve this end, she even intentionally took a dislikable attitude.
私は結局
To the very end, I took
ミヤちゃ
advantage
ん
of
の優し
Mia
さに
Chan's
甘えて
kindness. Before
今まで
now,
自
I
分
only
だけ
ever
いい
thought of
思い
myself.
してきました。ミヤちゃんがいなくなって
After Mia Chan
初めて
passed away, I couldn't help
もっ
but
とあの子のために
think there
何か
must
で
have
きる
been
ことが
something
あったは
I
ずだ
could
っ
have
て
done for her.
すごく後悔して
So much regret.
私が
I
代
wish
わりに
that I could have died in her
知
place.
ってあげればよかったしかも挙句に
And even after everything, to think
お
our
前の
parents
存在
forgot
そ
that
の
she
もの
even
を忘
existed.
れられてしまうなんてこんなの
It's all too much.
あんまりにも
It's too sad for me to take.
悲しいです
Yua, having now reached her limit, could no longer squeeze out any more words. She took off her glasses and pressed her fingers against the corner of her eyes and broke down in tears. Momose sat down beside her and gently rubbed her
それで
back.
ゆあちゃんは
Well, it sounds like Yua-chan has been investigating the incident on her own.
みやちゃんに一体何
Also, she can find out what happened to Mia-chan.
そりゃ大変だ。
None of that's easy. Must be really hard on her.
そして
And in the process, she was able to identify a certain individual. Huh? As Momose held Yua's shoulders, she turned her eyes toward Mon.
西条匠くんよ
Nishijo Takumi-kun.
なるほど。
Ah, I see now. Stroking the stubble on his chin, Bon leaned forward from the sofa.
いつだったか。
At some point or another, I did hear about the non-stop pursuit starring Nishijo and a high school girl. A detective from another jurisdiction let me know.
もしかして。
Might have been you, Yua-chan? Yua nodded apologetically. Interesting. Very interesting.
詳しく聞
Would you mind telling me more?
こうと思って。
Actually, I was gonna ask if you could tell me more, but I gotta fuck out of here for a minute. With a strained smile, Bon lightly bowed his head to Yua and Momose. His words had been interrupted by the cell phone in his suit pocket. He swiftly took out the phone and checked the screen. Sua's name was displayed across it.
もしもし。
Yeah, what you need, kid? Sir, the seventh's here!
なんだと。
What did you say? Sua's voice sounded strained. The sounds of investigators frantically scurrying about could be heard through the phone. Sua must have been at the investigation headquarters. The 7th New Gen incident happened! Bond's eyes opened wide, and his expression turned bitter as teeth sank into his lip. Sensing the seriousness of the situation from his behavior, Momose and Yua watched the detective with unease. 3 Vicks. Apparently they were buddies. Nigga, don't act like you didn't do that shit. This nigga grabbed the porter, came here, created a fucking monster from Star Wars, maimed those 3 niggas with it, and then said, aha, aha. All 3 were sliced in half at the torso. Their upper and lower halves were then swapped around, and using synthetic fiber, well, fishing line to be specific. Nigga, you did it! Nigga, you did it. Nigga, you made it. They also had wounds on their foreheads in the shapes of Q, D, and N. Some kind of message? The autopsy found something pretty interesting. The severed parts of the Vic's torsos weren't split by a saw, knife, or any other kind of sharp object. Then how'd they end up in half? Apparently they were torn apart by some strong force. Torn apart? Wait. No. No, this can't be. No, this can't. Bond repeated Sua's words back at him with a low groan, and then roughly scratched his head to the handle of his fan. Like a monster did it, or one of those wizards that are real popular today. Sir, are you being serious? Sorry, it doesn't matter how big of a movie buff I am. I just don't see myself agreeing with that opinion. What the fuck? Never mind that. Just get back to investigating. After barking that order to Sua, Bond ended the call. Is it really AI? Or is AI just trained off of enough art that looks like this? Wait, I gotta ask this. Well, AI is in the name of the account, so Loki gotta block this shit and unfavorite the Super Creek Gat. By the time Yua and Bond finished up with Momose and left Frisia, the sky had long been since covered in a veil of darkness. During the time she had spent there, Yua had explained all the suspicions she had gathered from her investigation in Nishijo Takumi. Bond was a detective and Momose was the head of a private investigation agency. If she could get the 2 of them on her side, then perhaps Nishijo Takumi would finally be arrested. That's what Yua was hoping for. Nishijo Takumi needed to be arrested. Yua had sympathy for the boy's painful circumstances, so she would have preferred if he had turned himself into the authorities, but since he had refused to do so, she had no choice but to get the police involved. They had been her plan at any rate. But to her surprise, Detective Bond had told her he'd been removed from the list of suspects. She found this absolutely unbelievable. She didn't want to believe it. Had her theory been diminished? It was blatantly obvious that Takumi was the new-gen culprit. Biting down hard on her lip, Yua increased her pace as she hurried toward the station. She had returned home as quickly as possible, investigate the case from top to bottom, and find some conclusive evidence. And with that evidence, she was able to prove her theory correct to Detective Bond. Whoa, is that who I think it is? Miss Kuzunoki. The sudden sound of her name startled Yua, stopping her dead in her tracks. The words of her homeroom teacher came to mind. Shibuya has become all too dangerous lately. Women really shouldn't be out alone at night right now. Remembering that warning, Yua froze completely. The voice she had just heard belonged to a rather friendly-looking young man. Oh, it's Sua. Let's see, what was your first name again? Yua-chan, right? Do I know you? She felt like she had seen him somewhere before, but at the moment, could not exactly remember where. What? You don't remember? It's me, Suwa Mamoru. Here, check it. Making sure that only Yua could see it, the man took his police badge and showed it to her, then quickly shoved it back inside his suit pocket. After the group dive went down, I paid your family a visit. Real nice people, all of them. We talked about all kinds of stuff, and I know for a fact you joined in too. Real nice people. I know alarm bells are ringing in this girl's head right now, because nigga, what?
すいません
My apologies. I remember now. Thank you for coming back to talk with us then. Yua bowed her head. The incident had really shaken her to her core. So much that she genuinely could not recall Sua's face. However, their talk back then had been indeed helping Yua sort out her thoughts regarding the bizarre nature of her sister's death. And for that, she was truly grateful to him. You were the Detective Bond just now, weren't you? Huh? Is Bond-san an acquaintance of yours? Well, we're in the same division of the TMPD, see? He's my senior, I swear though. The guy can't go a day without laying into me about something. I'm sure talking to a nice young lady like yourself made him pretty happy though. So maybe he'll give me a break today. This is just between you and me, but when he said he'd be meeting with you today, he had the creepiest smile on his face. And look, I love the guy and all, but I'm 99% sure he had something real dirty going on in that head of his. I wanted to tag along, but I had to work on the investigation, you see. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I need to get in touch with your folks. I thought about heading to your house directly, but if only there was a better way.
連絡
Why do you need to contact them? Oh, nothing crazy. It's just about the group dive. We discovered that the culprit may have left something behind. What? Really? He's coming here to enforce the idea into her head that it's Takumi. It was the first Yua had heard of this. With all the hesitation now evaporated, she stepped closer to Suwa. Yep, the mass media recently spotted at the scene of another incident, so it's picked up quite a bit of steam recently. Can you guess what it is? You're never gonna believe it, but it was a Darth Spider helmet that went on my fucking head because I'm the fucking culprit. Was the group dive culprit wearing that as well?
なんですか
The irony. Yep. Remember that video of the incident that popped up online? After we got back to the analysis, it came up clear as day. By the by, speaking of Darth Spider, there was this huge uproar in Shibuya about some Esper boy. He made the news and everything, if I remember right. His name was Nishijo Takumi, I think. You gotta wonder, why did that Nishino guy have a Darth Spider helmet just like the guy behind the group dive did? This psyop is really about to work on Yua. That's the funny shit. The moment she heard those words, dark impulses began to flood Yua's heart. She had been completely convinced. She had only begun feeling it a few moments ago. That all she needed was one piece of divisive evidence. One piece. To prove herself to Bon and Momose. And now she had it. Well, I gotta go to Free See ya now. So if excuse me, miss. No, but I don't. Are you fucking kidding? This nigga even did a damn villain laugh. Stupid high school bitch. She'll believe that shit for sure. And she will.
彼だわ
It was him. Her murmurs were to no one but herself. He did it.
やっぱり彼だ
He did it after all.
彼しかいない
He had to be the one who did it.
彼に間違いない
He did it without a doubt.
彼が
He killed my little sister, who can't possibly be this cute.
彼が
He killed Mia.
ミアを殺したのよ